Hello, Needham, and welcome to this month's installment of What's My House Worth? My name is Rob Ticktin. This is Ryan McDonnell. We are realtors with Hawthorn Properties. We are also television hosts free thus far of any allegations of misconduct. Ryan, I think seems about right that we should be talking about the month of November since we have November sales in the books. And a little frightening start to the month, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, a little slow. Good thing we had a nice, strong finish, though.
That's right. 16 days in, we only had 3 sales, and Ryan and I were looking at each other wondering what are we going to be talking about.
We started to get a little nervous.
Finished strong, and there you go. 19 sales, Ryan. What else do you see on that board?
We get an average sale price, Rob, of $1.14 million. You remember back to last month, we were at $832.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
And we told everyone not to panic. It was just a mix. So I think this month we're kind of back on track for what we've been used to seeing this year.
Yep.
Our percentages are very strong. Our homes sold this month at 98.5% of their list price and 97.4% of their original list. Like it over 97, that's good. $393 per square foot, Rob, big number.
Yeah, that's encouraging. That's especially comparing it to November of last year. I can also say that November of last year, the average sales price was $1.07 million. So not only is the average sales price up, so is the dollars per square foot and year over year November.
That's not necessarily a slam dunk. When the average price goes up, we don't also usually see the average price per square foot going up too.
Usually it could very well be the other way around.
Right. And look at the average days on market, Rob, 19.
Yeah, it was a fast month. If I'm not mistaken, of the 19 sales, 18 of them went under agreement without a price reduction.
Yeah.
Just one of them had a few price drops. We'll get back to that one a little bit later. But in terms of home sales, like we said, 19, pretty good for this time of year as people start to get ready for the winter months. Thoughts there?
I mean, November's kind of all over the map. I mean, look at that. You got 30, you got 12. 19 is kind of right there in the sweet spot, I guess. It's not knocking anybody's socks off, but again, it's not 12.
Yeah. What did we talk about in 2013?
I don't know. I'm sure it was fascinating, though.
Roll the tape. Okay, so average sales price. This is a fun one.
Yep.
Right? This is an encouraging one.
Sure.
It's a lot of numbers on there, but I think everybody gets the gist. Things are improving.
And they're getting expensive.
They are getting very expensive. Again, last month, the total blip. It was just this kind of point in time where we had all these sales that were under $1 million, but this looks like, well, it's what it's been looking like since we've started the show, which is trending upward. So we'll see. It's we're approaching the end of the year, so lots of fun information and data to kind of pour over for the next episode. But we think we're going to see positive things for 2017, right?
I think so, Rob.
Find out soon. Okay, now we're going to start to look at these 19 sales, so get your pen and paper ready. We are going to start with the low sales price and work our way up, and the first location is on a busier, you might even call that a busy street, right?
I mean, Great Plain Ave, I would say so.
Okay, busy street. Great Plain Ave, 1514 Great Plain Avenue. Ryan, you and I were both in this house.
Yep. It's a good starter home. I mean, the little blurb from the listing agent is right. Location, while close to town, it's just over a mile from town.
So we can't call it walk to town?
You can walk to parts of town, but I tend to use like town hall as my stake in the ground. That's where I'm marking my distance from.
I would do it from either Chapel or Highland, depending on which direction you were coming from.
Well,
but okay.
Town hall's kind of,
Well, true, but those extra few steps up to Town Hall. I'm just saying that intersection.
All right, but for the sake of argument, this one is just over that little boundary. But still, that's walkable. The thing that I would struggle with, Rob, was the driveway.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, it sloped down towards the house, and getting out on Great Plain Ave, it was kind of hidden a little bit too. It was a tough driveway that you're gonna have to get used to.
Right. I think anybody who watches this show who's ever driven stick shift can understand that you'd have to basically back out and almost hold up your emergency brake as you were going down on the gas and up on the clutch, or else it's hard to avoid rolling downwards. It was that severe. And similarly, the backyard was sloped, although it didn't feel severe, kind of downward.
Big lot, though.
It was a big lot. Yeah, almost a half acre.
Yeah.
Okay, over on 59 Booth Street, it's a smaller, albeit flatter lot. This is a Butts conservation land behind it.
Yeah, the Glover Meadows.
Very nice. Very nice. Do we think this is redevelopment?
It is potentially a land sale, yes.
That's what I think too, based on the sales agent.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I gleaned as well, but we don't know.
No, we don't.
It is 10,000 square feet.
10,890.
Right. So it's level. It's in a quiet neighborhood, and $680 for the land on that feels about right.
Yep.
Yeah.
If it were in fact a land sale.
If it were in fact. Over on High Rock Street, I think it's safe to say this one is not a land sale.
No.
A high visibility location for people who use the Needham RTS. This is right there at the corner of High Rock and Mark Tree. And pretty nice renovation inside.
Yeah, I mean, as the listing agent put it, state-of-the-art renovation. This one sold last in 2012, Rob, for $450,000. So quite a bit of work went into it, and here we are at $755,000.
Right, more square footage also in the basement. You know, this listing also alerted me to something that we're seeing more and more of, and I actually saw it 3 times this month, which is, you know, as these bidding wars evolve and they continue to happen year over year, this new caveat with the sellers reserve the right to accept offer prior to deadline, which is essentially the language of the listing agent more or less protecting themselves and saying, hey, you know, the offers are due, for instance, Tuesday at 12, but if somebody wants to come into an open house on Saturday and hit me over the head or hit the seller over the head with an offer that's $100,000 over asking,
or
whatever it may be, they might just take it on the spot. So I think it's a good thing to know for buyers, and I think it's becoming the new norm.
Right.
If there is a deadline that, while that deadline probably will continue to exist, it's not etched in stone anymore as people thought maybe it once did.
Right. Yeah. And
right? I mean, you've been in that position.
I have twice in recent times been in that situation where I have not given that caveat and did, in fact, on behalf of the seller, receive an offer that was too good to pass up. And you know, you tell some people, yep, Monday at 10 or whatever that deadline is, and then the next thing that listing agent that buyer agent or that buyer sees is the property going under agreement, and they're quite frankly not very happy with the listing agent.
Right. Well, probably because the buyers aren't very happy with their buyer's agent, because that's what they were told. So it's just a good way to kind of get things on the up and up. But it's the evolution of the industry in a way, or at least here at Needham.
And that's a good point. I mean, we're constantly kind of blazing new trails with the way that this industry is evolving, and these are the things that you have to adapt to. And if you don't, then you can find yourself left holding the bag if you're a buyer, and you can find yourself taking a lot of heat if you're a listing agent.
Okay, right. So we saw it on 480 High Rock Street. We also saw the same language on 123 Elmwood Road.
So I was smart enough to adapt and start putting it in my list.
There you go. This one is a listing that you put on the market, Ryan.
Yep.
Purchased by, I believe this is redevelopment, right?
It is. This is a land sale. I mean, the house it's a nice home. Quite possibly, Rob, the nicest group of people that I've ever worked with in my years doing this. They were just so pleasant. It was really an enjoyable experience.
No offense taken.
They're very happy with the outcome. This is a home that is going to be redeveloped, and the family was comfortable with that. It's on the corner of Douglas and Elmwood in a nice, quiet neighborhood.
You know what's interesting is that it sells for $759, and so when people get their tax bills or they look on the public records, you have a value of the house and a value of the land, and we've kind of touched on this a little bit before. But in this case, if there's as charming as that house is, if there's no house on that lot, that's probably, instead of selling for $759, it sells for $779, right? Because now the builder doesn't have to pay to tear the house down.
But I mean, technically, you're right.
If it's a new construction.
Yeah, I think what your point is the house is not adding value to the land, and in this case, it's not. And yeah, whether this went to a developer or to an end user, the other parties that were looking at it were going to do significant work to this home. It needed everything from top to bottom. So it looks charming. The pictures make it look nice. It hadn't been touched in years. And required an extensive amount of work, and in this case, it is going to be torn down.
Okay, there you go. 25 Hoover Road is the next listing. I believe this is going to be another tear down.
This is
a big lot, and this is on Hoover in between Burnside and Tower, a very desirable location, as they call it. Ryan, any thoughts on this one other than the fact that it ends in 50 cents?
That's a function, Rob, of a bidding war and a buyer who is an agent and is kicking in the commission back to the seller.
Fine, but does that still get you? That gets you to 50 cents?
I guess we could do the math. It got him to 50 cents.
There's no rounding that's going on there.
Yeah, you prefer to see the rounding. I think we'd all be happier with no cents.
Yeah, I mean, it would be 3 less keys that I would have to stroke as we prepare for the show.
I like how you used we.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. We digress, I guess, but let's get back on track over in the Valley.
Okay.
37 Valley Road, and I think this one receives This might receive the outrageous claim of the month award.
Yeah, you got to be careful with the word "the" in this situation.
Right.
So, I mean, anytime.
Or best.
Oh, fine. But, all right. But, I mean, not to take anything away from the Valley. It's a nice neighborhood. It's in Broadmeadow.
But no doubt. I don't care what the neighborhood is.
You have to modify that with some degree, unless there is an official award presentation that everybody agrees is the gold standard. We're saying this is official.
Right. Just give me a source.
Right.
That's all. I want to see a source. That's fair.
Amazing house, fine, in the best neighborhood of Needham. I got to take exception to that. You can't go around saying you're the best unless there is third-party affirmation of some sort.
I can even accept one of the best.
I
might not necessarily agree, but I will give it to you. But the best,
right.
I need
it's really
documentation.
It's putting yourself out there.
Yeah. Anyway.
And quite frankly, we won't have it.
No, as this person now knows.
Anyway, the lot, 13,000 square feet plus smart home capabilities, Rob. All kinds of fancy stuff
that's fun.
in there.
I saw that,
Some tech.
Yep.
Buyers like tech these days. So.
Sure. What's not to like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good value there.
Same house sold for $540,000 back in 2012.
It wasn't the best neighborhood back then, though.
We don't know, but it wasn't written on that listing sheet. Speaking of previous sales, over on 935 Webster Street, this is a house, Ryan, that just sold in 2016.
Egad.
For $735,000, so that's a tidy little return. They put some money into this house.
Yep.
But it sells
nice
for
updates. Big
$850,000, basically a year and change later.
But you know, I noticed that there's 2 bedrooms in that house, both full. I'm sorry, 2 bathrooms.
Oh, thank you.
Both full. One of them is on the first floor, but it's in a bedroom, so there's not really a common first floor bathroom.
Yeah, we've seen that before.
Yeah.
That's it's captured.
Yeah.
It's a captured bathroom.
Or an ensuite.
Or an ensuite. But in this case, it feels more captured because it's on the first floor.
Right.
Okay. All right, good observation.
Thanks.
233 Great Plain Avenue.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's go time there.
Yeah.
For the buyer, huh?
Yep. And this is sort of my take on this. This house, you can't tell from this picture, but it has a full-on in-law suite.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So the house itself is it's a little dated. It could use some updates, but I gotta believe that if this house sold in the spring, or went on the market in the spring rather, it would have competition. There has to be more than one buyer looking for an in-law suite. So I think what hurt this house is the absence of a larger pool of buyers due to the time of year, and you didn't have that one other competing bid that was also looking for an in-law suite that might have driven this price up a little bit. So I think that this particular buyer, knowing that the seller is selling to a smaller pool of buyers because of the in-law suite not appealing to everybody.
Yep.
This particular buyer obviously wanted or needed or was seeking that, but there wasn't enough to push the demand for it. So I think the buyer probably did better because of the time of year, because of the absence of at least one other competitive buyer for that property.
Okay.
Due to its unique nature.
There's a seasonal component, is what you're saying.
Timing, I think, hurt 233 Great Plain Ave because we've had plenty of people hurt the seller.
Yep.
We've had plenty of people come to us looking for want to do an in-law or this or that. There's that demand is out there.
Yeah.
It probably just didn't hit it and time it right for this particular property to go through the roof.
Right. Okay. Very good.
So that's why it's my deal of the month for the buyer.
Got it. No, I understand. It's also we've kind of entered into an interesting price point here in terms of pricing and square footage and comparison. Things are about to get pretty fun and exciting.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot to kind of go with right now. But 265 Harris Avenue is the next listing. A very recognizable one, right, with the blue trim around the windows.
Because it looks like painter's tape.
Yes, I know, but it's anybody who drives on Harris has noticed this house, right?
Sure.
So it was, good to kind of...
It's like, when are they going to finish painting the front
I know.
the trim on that house?
Something tells me that's not going to be there much longer if it's still there at all. But anyway, it sells... So you're looking at 2,300 square feet, okay? It had additional square footage in the basement, 4 beds, 2 baths, located on Harris Avenue. Sells for $885.
The promenade.
The promenade.
Promenade, sorry.
So then if you go to the next...
Which is going to stick, by the way. I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's now happening.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
So, yeah, the promenade, is it... Yeah, okay, we got to figure out the boundaries of it, but we can do that
It's
another
Harris.
time. All of Harris?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's
From now on.
265 Harris sells for $885, excuse me. So the next listing is 59 Power Street.
Wait, do we get to talk more about Harris or no? You're on a roll. Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was. The next listing is 59 Power Street, which sells for the same amount of money, $885, right? So it's 300 square feet smaller, actually more, because it doesn't have any finished space in the basement.
Okay.
It's 3 beds. The other one's 4 beds. So I guess my question to you is, you have $885 to spend, Ryan. Which one are you buying? 59 Powers, which for those who don't know, is located about 3 blocks in from Great Plain towards Brookline.
Brookline.
Yeah. So if you had 885 to throw down, you
And
buy
my druthers.
and your druthers, which are you buying?
I'm probably buying Powers.
You're buying even though
Powers.
it has Powers, even though it has 3 beds. And less
It's just
space.
3 beds?
It is. It's just 3 beds.
Oh, you're right. It is just 3 beds. Yeah, probably. Because, I mean, in the lot sizes were similar, right? They're both about 10,000.
Yeah, they're both about 10.
I like the neighborhood of Powers a little bit better. Yeah, I get you on the bedroom. That is kind of a bugaboo, but I way overpaid for a 3-bedroom in my own history, so it wouldn't be uncharted waters for me.
Okay.
The thing about Harris, though, is there's some value to Harris. There a lot of the work that's been done there. I mean, think about it. New furnace, new roof, new hot water tank, hardy plank siding, new insulation, replacement windows. That's basically running the entire gamut of stuff people hate spending money on.
Yeah, right, because you don't get to really
There's no
enjoy the benefit
tangible
of
value.
it. That's a great point.
So all that stuff's done. So you're going to go in there, you're going to paint the trim because it's blue.
Yep.
And then
you don't even need painter's tape.
you just rip it off. So then you're gonna do some cosmetic stuff on the inside, and you've got yourself a lot of value on Harris. So I'm as we're having this conversation, almost changing my tune.
Well, which makes sense because they sold for the same amount of money, right? So you would think that they'd be close. Okay, so Harris's assessed value, by the way, is $861,000. Powers' assessed value is $731,000. So you're talking about a difference in assessed value of $130,000.
That's all bedroom though. That's just running the bedroom algorithm.
Well, you would think, but let's go to the next listing, 19 Ware, okay, which is square footage-wise right in the mix with both of them, right? It's a little bit smaller than Harris, but it's definitely bigger than Powers. But this one sells for $1,036, and it's 4 beds and 2 baths. It's obviously a lot more finished, but one of the baths is the full bath on the first floor, right? So it doesn't. I don't think it has a master bathroom on the second floor. So this. When you look at these 3 together, I mean, this one looks like the seller got a great deal on it. Am I wrong? I mean, I know it's a quiet street, and it's a little bit of a bigger lot, and it's less to do once you move in, but
it's more updated.
It's more updated
than both of them by far.
Okay. So here's my question, right?
Okay.
If the assessed value for Harris was $861, and the assessed value for Powers was $731, what's the assessed value for Ware?
I bet you it's low.
Give me a guess.
I don't know. It's probably somewhere in the 7s.
$775.
But you know why? Because the Ware was originally one of those Campanelli-style L ranches.
Yeah.
So its assessed value started out way low,
lower.
and it's just not
Hasn't caught up.
It hasn't caught up.
Or were permits pulled from when it was bought?
Well, there could have been a series of renovations to this house that were
Never went through the town.
So it doesn't surprise me to hear that. Because this house has been made over. Everyone's familiar with those Campanelli L-shaped ranches.
How can you not be?
How can you not be? Those guys, the post-World War II, that family, they built a gajillion houses in eastern Massachusetts. We see them a lot in town.
Yep.
But anyway, so it doesn't surprise me to hear that the assessed value there is way lower than, hasn't caught up with all the renovations that have been done.
Yeah, okay, all right.
But not for long. You keep selling that house, and now it's selling for the second time. It sold in 2014 for $810. So I would expect the assessed value now to go up to approximate more, closer to where it just sold.
Or so at the very least, it should exceed Powers and Harris.
Right.
Okay, so next up is we're going to stay in this kind of 2,500 square foot range.
You're right. This is fun, boy.
Yeah, I told you. 51 Cornell Road. So this is you can't really compare it to the other ones just because it's so much different in light of the fact
it's in Wellesley.
Yeah, well, there's that too. So in order to get to 51 Cornell Road, you have to go into Wellesley. And then you're basically just going to be out of Wellesley while you're in this house.
Right, but you're going to be using Wellesley utilities while you're there.
That's true. I wonder if somebody who moves into this house, if they could make some kind of, get some kind of application in through the respective towns to get this thing shifted into
Right,
Wellesley.
pick one. One or the other. Like be in one of the towns instead. I think if you're hooked up to one town's utilities, that's the town you're in. I know where the head rests rule. But if I'm connecting to Needham water and sewer, aren't I in Needham?
Or what if you can throw a pebble into Wellesley and you have to go through Wellesley every time you leave your house?
Maybe this is why there's two sides to this coin. This is also the college district, Rob.
Right, that's right.
Lehigh, Colgate.
Yes.
Which is fun.
Yeah. So there you go. But feel free to look this one up on the map. because you probably haven't noticed this road before, or this neighborhood for that matter.
It's because it's not in Needham.
Yeah, if you lived in Wellesley, you would.
Right.
90 Morningside Road is the next listing, and I like this house, Ryan.
Good.
I thought this was a pretty good buy, 1195 for this house.
No garage.
No garage.
Water tower.
Water tower.
There's your reason.
Well, Manning, the one that sold on Manning for 139.
But this is a 7,800 square foot lot. Also, throw that in the mix.
All right.
Those are your 3 reasons why that house is selling for under 1.
Nicely finished though. Didn't need anything.
Except for a garage.
They did have the right to accept an offer prior to the deadline.
I saw that.
So they had obviously a very savvy listing agent. Okay, the same house with very little changed, I believe, sold for 1.055 back in 2014.
Good return for that seller.
Yes, sir, indeed. And I like the next listing as well.
Yeah, me too.
Because if you've got 1.3 to 1.4 to spend, and you want to be in a closer to town Mitchell neighborhood, as we look at the next slide, there aren't many options.
No.
I mean, these just don't, there aren't many of these.
No, and there aren't many comps for it. Like obviously, I guess that's what you're getting at. But when I first looked at this, though, I said to myself, "Wow, 1.385. This is probably a really good buy." But when you look at the comps, I mean,
yeah,
there's not much really to compare to. It certainly didn't.
Well, there aren't many, right?
No, I mean anything in the 1.4 basically is new construction. You know, because there just aren't many homes like this. This one is not new, obviously, but it's been added onto and renovated. At first glance, I thought it was a steal for the buyer, but then when you start looking at houses that aren't new, because if you compare this to new construction, it probably doesn't compare as favorably because it isn't new.
Right.
Even though
right,
some people, myself included, might prefer it.
But there's no new construction anywhere near that neighborhood that's anywhere
not
near that price.
Exactly. So I think it landed where it should land.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a lot of homes like it that come on the market. And so but it does surprise me a little though that they would take an offer that's over 70 grand under asking in 8 days.
Yeah, true.
But
that's a good point. Yeah, but they did have a dog washing station.
I love those. I'm surprised they're not more prevalent.
Right. Who invented those?
I did.
Yeah, right. Ryan invented the dog washing station.
Although I don't remember being involved in putting this one in.
Yeah,
so
next listing's 86.
Where are my royalties?
Well, I don't know. 86 Winding River is the next listing, and what do you think about that? Were you surprised to see that?
Nah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, it is low-hanging fruit.
$295,000 under asking. So, ooh, great deal for the buyer, boy.
Well, I mean,
way to do your research, Rob.
Well, if it was that simple as far as looking at so this is, by the way, the only house I believe that got reduced before selling. Obviously, it had a couple of price reductions, but what I did like about this house was the fact that obviously you had a lot of space, and you had 6 beds, 3.5 baths, and it was a really big lot. It was on the Charles River, had some great backyard space, and it's what I like to call, Ryan, the outskirt discount, right? So if you want to be on the outskirts and you're not obsessed with being too close to town, there are values to be had. If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times, and 86 Winding River is one. I thought it was a really good-looking house, inside and out. I don't want to say it was renovated. It certainly wasn't dated. It had been kind of updated here and there throughout the years. But it's just a really cool house, a great house for entertaining. Do you remember the sound we heard outside when we were at that house?
Yeah, was the irrigation?
Yeah, it was like the irrigation had been shut off, but like there was something going on underground.
Right, we thought it was going to explode imminently.
Yeah, right. So that didn't happen, and
I
as a result,
we alerted anyone to that effect, though, did we?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, good.
The listing agent.
Perfect.
Yes, who didn't seem to want to be. Well, she had other things going on. It was in the middle of a broker tour.
Yeah.
And we're talking about some underground sound.
But I mean, it was like catastrophe was imminent.
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't, because we said something. 17 Ridgeway Avenue is the next listing, and I don't mind if somebody just says custom home. You can say not a builder spec home and put it in all caps.
Okay.
But you can just say a custom built home, right? Doesn't that say the same thing?
Sure.
And I mean, and there are some nice custom features in this house, right? It's got the heated floors, you got the remote operated blinds, you've got some spray foam throughout. But it does strike me as odd that you don't take professional pictures.
Yeah, well,
Did you see the pictures?
That always strikes me as odd.
You're putting a listing, and maybe it doesn't matter.
It's not like it's cost prohibitive to take professional pictures, right? I mean, I don't want all these photographers raising their prices on us, but I mean, it's very reasonable.
Very reasonable.
Goes a long way.
It's just some of them were blurry, but nice house. Nice
Yeah.
house. And sold in a very short period of time, which I guess ultimately is the most important.
Well, this is a migrant builder.
Habitual, or is this a one-time?
Oh, that's I don't know. Maybe not. But
what is a migrant builder?
someone who builds, resides, and then moves on.
And why do they reside?
Tax purposes.
Correct. So how long do they have to reside for?
3 years.
I believe it's 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah. Very good. Okay.
I'm rounding up, unlike the seller of Hoover.
Right. And who made up migrant builder?
I did.
Oh, here we go again. All right, 110 Elmwood Road is the next listing, and well, if the person who bought the one across the street is curious to know what a new construction spec home is going to sell for,
Well, right, but if it does, then the spread here is going to be much higher than the spread across the street, because this land sold, I believe, in the 6s.
interesting. But nevertheless, that's a good-looking house. I like
It is. That's look what I wrote. Nice looking house.
gosh, and
because having spending a little time at Elmwood over the course of the closing of that house, I got to see this one coming along, and I think it did a nice job.
Yeah.
It is. It's architecturally pleasing.
Yeah, I like the color too. Yeah. 7 Beaufort Avenue is the next listing, and Ryan, I think you can speak to this one maybe a little bit, perhaps.
So there's some history to this listing. This is a home that we sold twice and built once. So owned it, sold it to a wonderful family who was going to build a custom home there. They got about halfway done. Were relocated out of state.
Okay.
So then had to sell the project sort of mid-construction to another wonderful family, a Needham family, who took it on, finished it, and is living there now.
Okay. But the square footage is actually a little bit bigger, correct?
So the home itself is actually in the 5s, and there's only 4 bedrooms and 4.5 baths. So the MLS listing is a plan that was not actually carried through.
Very good. Okay.
So there you have that.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, big seller time, the last listing of the episode. This is 55 Rockwood Lane. This is located in Rockwood Estates.
Is that what it's called?
Oh, I thought so.
Oh, okay.
It's the new development, the new street, if you will, the cul-de-sac in the Broad Meadow. Actually, can you call it a cul-de-sac? I guess not. It's a dead-end road.
Yeah, it's more of a dead end.
In the Broad Meadow district, and there are 9 new homes in the neighborhood, 5 currently sold. This is the 5th. There's 1 under agreement, 3 left on the market.
So act now while supplies last.
That's right. Because 66.6% of the homes are spoken for. Market snapshot time. This is where we take a look at where we're at as of today. Although today's not December 1st, but this is the beginning of December as we approach this last final month of what appears to be a record-breaking 2017, as they all have been.
Right, except for we've definitely had a scale back in home selling for over $2 million.
Huh? Yeah. Right. Well, last year I think was the aberration. Not
No,
this
2 years ago.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, I think.
Hey, listen. This is for next month's show.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Sorry.
43 active single-family listings. Probably won't see too many new ones in the month of December.
Right.
That would buck a trend.
Yep.
So can we absorb 43 listings this month? Probably not. Expect the closings to be more on par with this month. Looking at that, Rob, though, the average listing price of 1,608.
That's high.
Yikes.
Yeah, with less inventory too. But yeah, that's high. That's really high.
So, but I think we're on pace for right about our standard number of sales in that 330 range. So it was a good year. Can't wait for the extravaganza of our next month episode.
We need to do. Should we do tuxes again? Should we dip back into the past and go tuxedo?
Maybe we'll pull something out.
Why don't we leave it up to the viewers? If the viewers, when they reach out to us, they want to see something different for the year-end spectacular, send us an email, send us a text. You know what? And now that we're talking about it, Ryan, why don't you give that information out?
Sure. You can reach us at 781-707-6564. You can email us at rob.ryan@hawthornre.com. And you can follow us on Twitter. It's at Hawthorn_WMHW.
So that'll do it. All set. November is in the books. We're going to start looking into December, and Happy New Year. Here we come.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Have a great holiday, everybody. We'll see you again really soon.